What do you do when an abusive parent keeps pushing for contact but refuses to take responsibility for the damage they caused? Hey guys, it's Elena, and welcome back to What Was Meant. In part one of this series, we looked at the first letter my mother sent to me 6 years after I went no contact. And we saw how a single piece of communication, whether it's an email, a text, a voicemail, or a letter, can be packed with covert narcissistic tactics and how to spot the manipulation in real time. Today, in part two, we're breaking down my mother's second letter. She sent this one just 6 weeks after the first, and only 3 weeks after we ran into each other by chance at a store. Unlike her first letter, which leaned heavily on guilt and her own hardships, this one is shorter, sharper, and fueled by lies and gaslighting, all while continuing to dodge accountability. It's a textbook example of covert narcissistic manipulation, and I've redacted names to keep the focus on the content. As we read through it, I'll show you line by line how each sentence is designed to rewrite the narrative, erase accountability, and put my mother back in control. Instead of an honest attempt at reconciliation, this second letter is vague, passive-aggressive, and demands forgiveness without ever owning the harm. Covert narcissists like to use coded language that seems friendly on the surface because that gives them plausible deniability. And because healing starts with naming the abuse, I'll call out each tactic clearly as we go. Now let's dive into the letter, starting with the opening paragraph.
Dear Elena, I am glad that we ran into each other a few weeks ago, December 7th, and had a chance to talk for a while. As I mentioned that day, I am very glad that you have found happiness in your life and can only hope and pray that you will reach a point where we might be able to talk again.
On the surface, this sounds warm and kind, but let's peel it back. When she says, I'm glad we ran into each other and had a chance to talk, it's not just small talk. This is hoovering, a tactic named after the vacuum cleaner, a way to suck me back in by framing our chance meeting as a positive experience for both of us. It's the covert narcissist way of saying, see, we can still connect, so why not keep this going? Next, she says, I'm very glad you found happiness in your life. On the surface, that sounds supportive, but it's not really about my happiness. It's about showing just enough validation to get me to lower my boundaries. This is the emotional bait. I see you're happy. Now you can trust me again. And then comes the kicker. I hope and pray you'll reach a point where we can talk again. This is false reconciliation. Notice how the responsibility is all on me. I'm the one who supposedly has to change or reach a point before communication can continue. She avoids accountability while suggesting that I'm the barrier to healing. That opening paragraph is a blend of hoovering and false reconciliation, a lure back into contact without a single acknowledgement of why I went no contact in the first place. The next paragraph begins.
Sometimes our perception of how things are or were is not always totally clear. That became obvious while we were talking about some of the things that happened.
This is classic gaslighting. That first sentence plants doubt, suggesting my memory isn't reliable, as if the abuse that I lived through is just a matter of perception. Then she follows it up with revisionism. That became obvious while we were talking. She implies that during our conversation, I somehow realized I was wrong, but keeps it vague, just some of the things. Vagueness is strategic. It leaves me with nothing solid to challenge while quietly rewriting the story. And this is how covert narcissists twist reality. First, they make you question your memory, then they supply their own rewritten version of the truth. Next, my mother writes,
That is why communication is so important. I was disturbed that you thought I never tried to help or say anything about some of the things that were going on.
This one is layered. First, she moralizes. Communication is so important. That's moral posturing, setting herself up as the reasonable, virtuous one, which makes me look unreasonable for holding boundaries. Then she flips into victim mode. I was disturbed that you thought. Now I'm positioned as the one who hurt her by having feelings about her lack of protection. This is guilt tripping and victim flipping. Instead of owning her role, she centers her own distress and pushes me to soothe her. Next, she writes,
Nevertheless, I do regret that you were hurt and that the truth came out only long after your uncle was gone. Your dad tried to find out where he was but could not. When we finally heard anything, he was in California.
This section is packed with manipulation. I do regret that you were hurt. That's not a real apology. It's vague and passive with no mention of the abuse or her role in it. Next, she addresses the way that she and my father handled my disclosure that my uncle had sexually abused me by saying the truth came out long after he was gone. This is straight up revisionism. The reality is, I told my parents about the sexual abuse when I was just 11 years old, and instead of protecting me, they blamed me. And they even brought my uncle back into our home multiple times after that. But in this letter, she rewrites that story to make it sound like they didn't know until it was too late to act. The next sentence where she said, your dad tried to find out where he was, that's an outright lie. It's image management, deflection, and gaslighting all at once, painting them as caring and proactive when the truth is the exact opposite. This paragraph is a perfect example of how covert narcissists twist timelines, give hollow apologies, and rewrite history, all to protect their image at the expense of their child's truth. And finally, she closes the letter with,
No one can change the past, unfortunately. Although deep disappointments and painful memories can haunt us and sometimes even cripple us, however, we have to find a way to mend and forgive. We will never forget, but we can try to forgive. That is sometimes so hard to do. Anyway, I just needed to tell you this. Love, Mom. P.S. A family friend came by last night and brought her little baby girl. She told me to tell you hi and that she asked about you.
now let's break this down. No one can change the past, unfortunately. That's minimization. It shrinks life-shattering abuse down to something we should just move on from. Next, she says, we have to find a way to mend and forgive. Notice the we. That spreads the responsibility onto me and pushes forgiveness without accountability. When she says, we will never forget, but we can try to forgive, that is sometimes so hard to do. This is soft persistence, one more nudge towards forgiveness, framed as the morally superior path. Then she tries to downplay the whole letter. I just needed to tell you this. That word needed is an emotional hook, making it sound like her well-being depends on me hearing it. And the PS, that's triangulation. She pulls in the family friend plus the emotional hook of a baby to stir guilt, longing, and FOMO, fear of missing out, about family milestones. It's designed to make me feel disconnected and reconsider my boundaries. So when you put it all together, this letter is a masterclass in covert narcissistic tactics: hoovering, false reconciliation, gaslighting, revisionism, moral posturing, guilt tripping, deflection, minimization, pressure to forgive, and triangulation. Not one sentence takes responsibility for the real harm. And that's the point. The goal isn't repair. The goal is to regain access and control. And that's why breaking it down matters. Once you can name the tactics, you stop internalizing them, and you can see the manipulation for exactly what it is. So that's my mother's second letter. Short, manipulative, and carefully crafted to twist the truth while dodging accountability. Breaking it down like this shows just how covert narcissists operate when they're trying to pull you back into contact on their terms. If this breakdown helped you, please hit that like button, share it with someone who might need it, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss part 3. In that video, I'll share the letter that I wrote back to my mother, how I called out her tactics, set clear boundaries, and protected my peace without getting pulled into the cycle of manipulation again. And I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever received a letter, text, email, or voicemail filled with tactics like these? Share your experience in the comments. Your story might be exactly what someone else here needs to hear today. Remember, naming the abuse is the first step to breaking free and starting your healing journey. I'm Elena, and this is What Was Meant. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, take good care of yourself.